Breaking news for you from Tigray, where TPLF chairman Debretsion Gebremichael has dropped a bombshell. He has delivered a very fiery speech, a provocative speech, pointing to the escalation between Tigray leaders and the federal government. Obviously, Eritrean involvement is there. What did he say about Eritrea? What did he say about Amhara? What did he say about the chief of staff, former chief of staff of the Ethiopian military who was assassinated in 2019, Sere Mekonnen from Tigray? Debretsion talked a lot. Let's start with yours. TPLF versus Prosperity Party. Tigray leaders versus federal government leaders. Now, this escalation is continuing unabated. Rather, with every passing day, we are seeing rise in temperature and no de-escalation. Uh, just one quick comment. TPLF wrote some letters to African Union, to international diplomats who mediated Pretoria deal. But letters were written, no response, no action by international community. That is why what is happening between TPLF and federal government is alarming. There's no one to control the situation. With every passing day, their statements, their verbal attacks are getting better and stronger. So what did Debretsion say? Debretsion Gebremichael, TPLF chairman, spoke in Hosen, Tigray, on the occasion of Martyrs' Day. Martyrs' Day is being commemorated in Tigray, in Eritrea, and in Tigray, outside Tigray, in Europe, in America. Tigrayans are commemorating the sacrifices of the martyrs who fought in the wars in the past. Debretsion Gebremichael announced something big, very big decision, I think, in Hosen. He said, I will work to establish relations between peoples of the two sides, between peoples of Tigray and Eritrea. The engagement which has started, it will continue. I'll work to strengthen people-to-people relations between the two sides. He said, we'll expand this peoples-to-people relations to Amhara, Afar, and Sudan. We want our people to have similar relations with the peoples of Amhara region, Afar region, and Sudan. Firstly, I'll explain that a little later. Secondly, he talked about the death of General Sere Mekonnen, former chief of staff of the Ethiopian National Defense Force. Abiy appointed him. He was a Tigrayan, but he was opposed to ethnic constitution of the military. He replaced Samara Yunus, if I'm not wrong. Sere Mekonnen was killed in suspicious circumstances in 2019 during a coup attempt in Amhara region when Ambacho Mekonnen, Amhara regional president, was killed in a coup attempt allegedly by Assamino Amhara regional force chief. Assamino was also killed. Ambacho Mekonnen was killed too, and allegedly Sere Mekonnen was killed by his bodyguards. He's from Tigray. I don't know why suddenly Debretsion raised the issue of death of Gebremichael. Obviously, he was saying that this government, Prosperity Party government, uh, PMRB killed Gebremichael. This is what he meant. He said, we'll raise the issue on international level about the death of Gebremichael. We'll raise the issue of genocide of Tigrayans committed during the war. We want the international community to recognize the genocide committed during Tigray. He said, we want accountability for war crimes committed during Tigray war. He criticized federal government. He said federal government is obstructing the Pretoria deal implementation. Federal government and a treasonous group, Getachew group, that these two parties are working to divide Tigray, to divide our party, they're working against Tigray's interests. We won't let them divide Tigray. We'll fight. We'll defend ourselves. We want international community to know that the Pretoria deal is being delayed implementation because of the activities of the federal government. So the speech was very critical of the Ethiopian federal government and Getachew group, and he formally announced the start of relations between Tigray and Eritrea. By the way, people-to-people relations cannot happen without government-to-government relations. If TPLF and PFDJ, if Tigray government and Eritrean government don't want the border to open, how can there be people-to-people contact? People-to-people contact means PFDJ, TPLF contact, EDF contact. So we can say that when Debretsion delivered this speech, I think Varade was there, Tigray interim president. And Varade is gradually now towing the line of TPLF, helpless, powerless to some extent, because TPLF is the main player in Tigray. And top Tigray journalists supporting TPLF. So Varade alone cannot go against TPLF. So it means that Debretsion has announced that TPLF is forming an alliance with PFDJ. Borders are not relevant. Tigray border is not Ethiopian border. It will be controlled by Tigray. So what TPLF is doing, what Tigray government is doing is not a violation of Ethiopian territorial integrity and sovereignty. It means that Ethiopian National Defense Force, ENDF, won't be allowed to be deployed to the border because border is being controlled by Tigray forces. Secondly, TPLF went quiet about human rights abuses when it was on good terms with the federal government. International Inquiry Commission's mandate was not renewed. TPLF stayed quiet. It stayed silent. Now it wants accountability. It has been accusing Eritrea of human rights abuses during the war. Now it is going to accuse Ethiopian federal government. Or it is raising the issue of the death of Gebremichael in 2019. All that is pointing towards big escalation between Tigray, People Liberation Front, Tigray Military, and federal government. And I cannot help reminding you that we saw similar scenes before 2020. Back then, too, federal government, Tigray government were involved in a bitter verbal war. And back then, Eritrea was on federal government of Ethiopia side. Now, Eritrea on TPLF side. Federal government and TPLF, again, they are back to square one, exchanging fiery statements, accusing each other of grave crimes. No de-escalation. I think Debretsion stock today is indicative of the alliance which I have been pointing at. I've been saying that major alliance in the north is being built. Fanos, he talked about Amhara in his speech. Fanos in Amhara, Eritrean military and government, Tigray military TPLF, some groups in Sudan too, and maybe some groups in Afar, though it's difficult for the Tigray side to get any support in Afar. So TPLF, Tigray military want an alliance in its neighborhood. Will this alliance march to Addis Ababa? That remains to be seen, but TPLF wants an alliance with its neighbors. TPLF ready to talk to Fano, talk to Amharas, talk to Eritrea, not ready to talk to Gitachoreda, not willing to talk to TPF members who are in the Afar region. They are Tigrayans. So Tigrayans not acceptable. But those who were accused of human rights abuses, the military, Fano fighters, they're welcome now. This is how alliances change in Ethiopia. I'm not opposed to people-to-people contacts. I'm not opposed to contact between TPLF and other groups in Ethiopia. But TPLF is doing all this to secure its political survival. It wants its status back. It's a political game, political tug of war between TPLF and Prosperity Party. In the end, when such political disputes are not solved and turn into armed conflict, people suffer. That is why I'm saying that people should tell one thing clearly to TPLF, that they won't fight. That all the issues should be solved through dialogue. Same should be the message from the people, from the military to PM Abiy, that federal forces won't fight. People don't want war against TPLF. What is needed is engagement, dialogue, peaceful solution to the conflicts. But the way these two sides are getting entrenched in their views, their supporters also becoming very entrenched in their views. If any armed conflict erupts, it shouldn't be surprising. This is the time to tell the two parties that war is not solution. If you cannot solve the issues politically, it means you have failed as leaders, as politicians. Solve the issues politically or just resign, make way for others to take your place. Thank you for watching.